So we're here on the Oluwalu farm. We're showing you our composting area. We're showing you how some of our interns are planting these mounds out and what we do with this strategy of regenerative agriculture. These trees have been neglected for many years and were covered from the very top to the bottom with this kind of material. Not to mention there was hundreds of invasive trees, the opioma tree, which you can see over there to the side. They're growing everywhere. This had no light in it and half of this stuff looked like it was dead. These things crept out of this canopy of invasive trees. So for the last 2 years, I've been cleaning it up and restoring the fruit tree orchard that was underneath it. And it wasn't really planted as an orchard, it was planted so they could sell trees. They didn't really think it out. They put a lot of plastic on the ground, there was tons of trash. And I use this as an example to show people by taking the trash out, clearing the invasive trees, spacing things right, and having a good maintenance plan, that we can take out and repair the damage done. We can actually regenerate the area by showing good, solid stewardship. And I want to show you how, and this is 2 years in the middle of the fire disaster in Lahaina. So I want to say, to get a scenario like this done, 1 or 2 guys with a little bit of help, a couple machines to do some of the work, but most everything is by hand and chainsaws. And so let's see what it's starting to look like now, 18 months worth of work later, to something that was just, most of the trees in the orchard were dead. We had to take hundreds of trees out to give the proper spacing and to also give sunlight in from the invasives. So let's take a look and see what that looks like. We're on the fringes of it. You can see there's areas where we're still doing the second cut and cleaning this area below us out still. We're making more mounds and more islands. And now as you come into here, you can see some of the traction that we're getting. In this area, for instance, 9 or 10 months ago, this was hundreds of invasive trees that were 30 feet tall. And now, as we clean the trees and we take care of them, now you can see beautiful mangoes right above me here. And if you look right here, all the mangoes hanging on the trees here. So now these trees are productive. This is still in different stages of us reclaiming it, starting to get the ground covered with desmodiums and ground cover. So let's walk this way and see what it looks like with what we've been working on. All of this area when I started was so dense with trees, invasive trees and whatnot, that none of the trees were thriving. It was dark, the ground was like dust. And now as we get a ground cover onto it, you can see that it's really starting to come along nicely. There's fruit on all the trees, it's beautiful. I think this is what papaya trees should look like under the shade of the papaya trees. Big, delicious fruit without having to use pesticides or fertilizers of any sort, but just managing what's around us. Taking the invasive trees, chopping them down and turning them into compost. So they're actually the food for the trees. So that what was oppressing it is feeding it and taking care of it and nurturing it. We need to do that switch as humans. Right now we are oppressing nature, and we need to make the switch to be the caretakers that we're meant to be and take care of nature rather than just oppressing it. So the proof is in the pudding, and the results of once we stick our hands in, the rewards are tenfold. And my words really won't do it any justice. Perhaps taking a look at where we were standing before, and this was 2 feet of dust with black plastic on the ground, and every one of these trees looked like little dead sticks because they were enshrouded by all of these invasive plants. If you look around me now, everything is laden with fruit. You can dig your hand into the ground somewhere where it was just dust and hard rock, and you're going to see mushrooms everywhere. You're going to see earthworms everywhere. Take a look at some of the growth, the fungal growth that's happening around here and the production. Regenerative agriculture doesn't really need fertilizers or pesticides. You're finding strategies to manage your production. You're basically nurturing the ground like a forest would nurture itself. and putting multiple layers of diversity so that everything sort of works in everything else's favor. Yeah, it's a pretty amazing feeling having a place like this that was just left so, I don't know what the words are really for it, not taken care of. And being able to walk through this nail a year or so later and just feel the difference in the temperature, or walk by and see trees that were dead and have fruit like this on them. It's a really amazing feeling. And I don't say that with any bragging or anything like that. Like, I'll brag for Mother Nature, but the feeling of wealth that comes with being actually able to experience the results and the rewards of stewardship, it's like, yeah, there's something to be said for that. So everywhere we go, where it was just chaos, invasive trees, trash, if you take a look around you here, you can see 10, 15, 20 different types of mangoes, tangerines, bananas, asparagus, avocado, pineapples on the wide. Let's just take a look down here real quick. A lot of education happens around here. We also do farm-to-table dinners. What's up, guys? We got some friends. Oh, these are some tasty little mangoes. Oh, yeah. Pretty cool. So yeah, we can just go around here and it's bountiful where it was just neglected. And with just that little bit of stewardship that we can provide, as I said before, the rewards are bountiful and amazing. And we get to share this with folks. And I don't know of any better feeling than being able to share really good, awesome, fresh food in this day and age with people. So let's go this way. Yeah, if you look around you and you realize how many different types of mangoes there are, that's its whole thing on its own. That's just like, man, what an amazing experience to be able to try all these different flavors. Garden of Eden or a utopia. I would think it would be covered with beautiful food all around you. Lilikoi, papaya, banana, sugarcane. Let's look at some of these pineapples over here. So this is a year-old avocado tree, maybe 18 months from seed. Are you kidding me? So we're showing pretty often now that if we put these trees from seed right inside one of the worm bins, the nutrient density, I'm assuming, is so intense that these trees are fruiting in 3 years. And we have pretty consistent results with that. Normally avocado trees, I think it's 7 years or so before they fruit. These are not grafts, these are coming from seed. And I anticipate that in the next couple years, this will be a giant fruiting tree. And that's because of the results of this type of agriculture, actually nurturing these spots where all of the plants can feed from the pile. If you look right here, you see super sweet, acidless white pineapple. You can see taro, you can see peanuts. We've already grown thousands of pounds of squash in this pile that was about 12 feet tall when we started. And what it transitions into is all this different food. So there's pineapples in here. We grew hundreds, if not thousands of pounds of carrots in here. Squash. Look at the papaya tree here. This is a year, maybe a 14-month-old papaya tree from seed. Look at the amount of fruit on this. We're getting upward of 150, 200, 300 pounds a year on some of these papaya trees. And it's some of the most nutrient dense, amazing fruit as well. So Yeah, everywhere we look, we have stuff going on around us. Pineapples that are ready for harvest, vetiver grass, um, tea leaf here, what we wrap our lau-laus in and what hula skirts are made out of and all sorts of other things. We try to perpetuate the voyaging plants here and the old strains of Hawaiiana, the things that were brought by the Polynesian voyagers, the Kanaka Maoli, and trying to perpetuate what's been growing here for perhaps thousands of years, making our models so that we're not fighting it. Yeah, we can have some other things like papayas and mangoes, and that's awesome, but we predominantly stick to growing taro, tea leaf, sugarcane, turmeric, which is Pua olena. You'll also notice that in my landscape here, you will notice quite a bit of native plants that are here and perpetuated from old days. If you look on this one in particular, you can actually see native Hawaiian bees are pollinating this right now. 3, 4 different species on this Ilima plant. So this is the importance of having our natives in place. If we just take this bush and we film it for a little while, and you look at the 5 or 6 different type of little pollinator wasps that are on here, you'll notice that some of those are endemic endangered natives from up in this area. So trying to nurture, have these native belts. This is Uhaloa, another endemic native. Also something that is a great tea and has medicinal purposes as well as just as a regular all-around drinking tea. So a lot of these plants we incorporate into the strategy. So as we go this way, a lot of these plants were just sticks. And as you can see now, we've harvested massive harvests off this orange tree in a year and a half. I want to say we've probably done 5 harvests off this tree already, which is kind of ridiculous. And if you look at the structure of it, it was a dead stick when we started. Where we're standing at right here, if you look behind you right there, that's what all of this looked like exactly that. That is the invasive Opiuma tree, and all of this was enshrouded in darkness that way. And so you can see when we talk about that we had to take that from that and turn it into what we have here in front of us. It's just steady consistency and going at it. So as we come into this area right here, all of these areas I've had to clean out. But I want to point out everywhere where we've cleaned areas, there's a lot of stuff that's planted in the ground, and we time things out so they come out in sequence. If you notice on the ground right here, no one realized there was anything in the mound, but this is all turmeric. We call it Pua olena. It's a native version of it that's here from Hawaii. And that's one of the crops we grow here too. So I just want to point that out. This pond that we have here, it is actually a worm bin. It was a pile of chips that we laid the liner on that had a worm bin from earthworms in it. And then we put the liner on top of it. So the little bit of micro leaks and stuff that overflows out of the liner will always ensure a really moist area for our worms to come to. In the summer, it gets over 100 degrees, 90 degrees out here all the time, pretty common. So to have a place like this where they can shelter from these extreme temperatures makes a huge difference. This pond also has fish in it that eat mosquitoes, and we can use the water from this pond to nurture this whole area with extra fertilizers. Eventually there'll be an aquaponics system set up here as well, but that's kind of how that works, just to give you guys a clue.